All right. Good evening, everybody. Or you can check on it. Hey guys, let me know when you come on. When you sign in, just give me a thumbs up. Let me know what's up. We are back. Check on it. All right. Hey, how are you, Shannon? Shannon from Massachusetts. What's up? What's up? What's up? Just waiting for people to get on. Glad you're here. All right, I'm sure it's nice and warm out there. Hi, Sunshine. What's up? What's up? Hey, guys. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your patience from last week. Actually had a little emergency at the last minute. This is the downside, I guess, of these lives, is that, you know, if everything's going great, then we're on. But if an emergency happens, you know, we don't have a backup. So thank you guys for your patience. All right, we'll take just a few minutes as everyone's getting online, just to update you. We are at that point, probably on next week. We're going to flip the switch on our live. I had been threatening for a while that our lives are going to have to require a subscription. So I think it's about that time. And so, well, it is about that time. So we're going to be doing that. So I need you guys to still stay with me. Join our lives. We're going to be getting more and more people on. But if you've been enjoying these, then you will also have to admit that it's worth it. And in addition to that, there are some other features that you're going to be seeing. We're about to start very shortly a webinar series, a free webinar series that you'll be privy to inside the app for sign up, etc. There are going to be, you know, perks that I'm going to offer for you guys. But that's one thing in addition to, now the webinar will be free, but there will be other things that are where you're going to be greatly benefited by being a part of this community. In addition, we're planning some trips, some retreats, some things that are going to be happening at the beginning, the first quarter of next year. So get ready for that as well. It's going to be a location place, someplace nice, someplace tropical even. So you're going to be hearing about that within the next probably 30 days or so. So a lot's going on. Some of you have been asking, well, what's happening after Married at First Sight? Well, this is it. And also, I want you to keep your ears and eyes open. If you go to our website, the Pastor Cal Web YouTube channel, you can see we've already started posting some of our previous lives. And then we're going to start our podcast, okay? So all those are just a precursor to the podcast that's starting up, and we're filming currently actually for it. So, awesome stuff, and I hope you guys are going to ride with me. Ride with me, ride with me, ride with me. I believe it's going to be awesome, okay? Great. Listen, let's get started. It's 7:04. If anybody else is on, but you're just remaining silent, give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're out there. Quite often we have people who do get online but don't say anything. We really want as much input as we could get, as much feedback as we can get. It's good for us so that we can know, that we're reaching people. And it's good for you also because engagement actually helps you to remember the material. That's so important. Hey, Tanisha. All right, great. Tonight I want to, I'm going to ruin something for you. Hey, what's up, Jay? I'm going to ruin something for you. I'm going to ruin your I'm sorry. Because the way most people apologize isn't repair. It's relief. And I think that this is one of the biggest challenges in relationships is how to resolve a disagreement. What do you do to resolve? What do you do to get in there and make sure that not only that it doesn't happen again, but that you close all of the open wounds and at least start the process. So we're going to be talking about this, because it makes it makes the person saying it, I'm sorry, just feel better, but it does nothing quite often for the person who got hurt. And that's what we want to talk about, because most apologies, are designed to end a conversation. They're designed for us to, I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about it anymore. An apology that's really just a request for the topic to be over isn't an apology, okay? That's a negotiation tool. And we don't want to do that anymore, okay? So how many of you all in the room right now, and I need you to respond, have said, I'm sorry, and have had your partner say, no, you're not? If you've said that, drop a thumbs up. If you said, I'm sorry, and your partner has said, no, you're not. No, you're not. If that's never happened to you, then you guys are on the road to an incredibly successful relationship. But for more, in fact, I'll put a thumbs up in there for us, because we definitely done that. But if you ever said I'm sorry and your partner just did not believe you, you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why is it that my partner did not believe me when I said I'm sorry? Okay. Or is it even easy to apologize? Thank you, Kelly, Mariah. Tanisha said, they said I'm sorry, and that was my response. They said I'm sorry, and that was my response. Yeah. You're not sorry. But why is it that you don't feel that your partner is sorry? And let's look at actually what that means. I'm sorry. What does that mean? Sorrow has to do with regret. So to say I'm sorry, originally it means that I regret what has happened that has caused this rift between us. I am sorry for something. I am sorry for something. Okay? So normally, if you're going to apologize correctly, there has to be some antecedent clause after that. So there has to be something there, some clause that succeeds that, not precedes, but succeeds that. Like, I'm sorry for A, B, C, D, E. When you know that your apology is on the right road, when there's an attachment or a trailer on it. But when it's just a plain cab with no trailer behind it, you have to ask yourself the question, is this just something I'm using to shut people up or to stop the conversation? But if it's I'm sorry because I was a butthole. I'm sorry that I made, and here's one. I'm sorry if. That's not an apology either. I'm sorry if. No, I'm sorry that I. Period. Okay? Well, let's talk about it. And I've talked to you about this before. And if you're getting this, or if this makes sense to you, I need you to talk back to me. And of course, if you have questions, if you have comments or concerns, please let me know. Okay, I'm going to walk through you this framework. And I've talked about this, especially in chapter 10 of my book, where I talk about, how to apologize, etc. And some of you, if you know this, this is a refresher. But there are three types of apologies. There's a proactive apology, is when you see the hurt and you address it and confront it before anyone says anything. You know that then you know there's something wrong. You've seen what's wrong, and you go ahead and you take the initiative to do it. This is the only apology type that actually builds trust. I don't need nobody to tell me what I did wrong. I see it. I'm going to apologize. You know what? I'm really sorry. I screwed up. You know what? Well, what are you sorry for? Well, let me tell you. This is what happened. Boom, 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 boom. That just screams sincerity. That screams vulnerability. The second type of apology, reactive. But this is, yes, I'm sorry, but changes the apology, absolutely. The reactive, you apologize because you got caught or you got called out. That kind of apology is more damage control than it is vulnerability. It's more damage control than it is accountability. And here's the one, and we all have seen those situations. You've caught somebody in a wrongdoing or doing something, and all of a sudden they say, well, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. And those are normally the sorries that come with attitude. You know it. That's the apology that comes with a mad attitude. And it's like, okay, can we get over this? Okay, you got me. I'm sorry, right? And then the third one is an inactive. And this is the one that I found a lot of people do, but we don't really give it a name, which is why I did. You never say the words, you just act normal and hope it blows over. Or you treat a person. Someone told me once that if you do something bad to me, don't say apology, just I'm sorry. Just treat me as though I know. Just treat me as though, and don't say anything. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that because inactive apologies can do the most silent damage in a marriage. Because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, your partner knows that you messed up. And they know you're not apologizing. And they know that you're just trying to do something nice for them. And it's very difficult for them to receive it. Now, they may receive it. They may just choose to sweep it under the rug. But remember our rule. When you sweep something under a rug, it creates a lump. And eventually, somebody's going to trip over it. This is not possible. Okay? So those are the apology types. And I want you guys to remember that, but not just for an academic, not just academically, but I want you to remember it because when something happens in your life, something happens in your relationship, it's so important that you understand why you're doing what you're doing. And it's even more so important that you understand why your mate is doing what they're doing. It's so important. Say this plainly. Most of you aren't, I want you guys to understand this. Most of you aren't inactive people. Most of you would want to apologize. I'm going to say this very plainly. Most of you want to apologize. Okay, you're not inactive. Some of you are reactive. But most of us probably want to be proactive. But the reason we're not is because we're afraid. Because when we do something wrong, we're exposed. When we make a mistake, we're exposed. And quite often, the problem comes that our spouses or our significant others or our partners do not know how to receive an apology. I need y'all to get this. They don't know how to receive an apology. Apologizing is only the first half of it. Knowing how to receive one is huge. It's a big deal. How many of you, and I want you to give me a thumbs up if this is you, actually know how to receive an apology? If someone, your partner, does something that you are hurt by or that just puts you in a bad situation, or puts them in a bad situation, and they come to you with a proactive apology, what do you think is the best way to receive it and to respond? And this is a question I'm going to ask you to respond to. What do you think is the best way? And don't give me, let me rephrase that. How have you responded? Because some of y'all smart people, y'all gonna give me the academic answers. How have you responded? And how has that worked out for you? Because the bottom line is, if you cannot receive an apology and respond appropriately, you're going to block your spouse or your significant other or your partner from apologizing proactively the next time. I would dare say that a lot of people become inactive apologizers because when they are proactive, it's not received well. Yeah. So how many of you know how to receive an apology? It's not a rhetorical question. You can answer. Okay? I'm waiting. Somebody answer. Do you know? Okay, now we're going to go on. Okay, here's something. Wendy is saying, apologies put us in a vulnerable position. So most apologies might be meant to be sincere, but come across as brazen because we're protecting ourselves. Yes. And when an apology comes across as brazen, as you put it, yeah, a lot of times it is because we're protecting ourselves. But here's the thing. If my apology comes across, even in a disrespectful manner, or it comes across like, I don't want to do it, but I'm doing this, and I'm not showing vulnerability or sincerity, here's the challenge here. When that happens, and we call ourselves protecting ourselves, is it possible that you're exposing yourself to more ridicule, not only by apologizing, but by being brazen about it? If your partner loves you and you come to them vulnerably, they're going to be more apt to protect you so that you don't have to protect yourself, unless that person is just a complete butthole. Okay? But if you are brazen, you're angry, you're sassy with your apology, the apology doesn't make a difference. Jay says, I say, thank you for your apology. Now that's a decent response. What do you guys think about that? That's a decent response. Thank you for your apology. However, a lot of times, that still may not get to the root of the issue. Because understand, the only reason for an apology is to actually start reconciliation. The apology is not reconciliation. The apology begins the reconciliation. Because what has to be discussed is why the offense occurred in the first place and what we can do to avoid it the next time. So if all you got is an I'm sorry and a thank you for it, has the issue really been resolved? Or are you simply just throwing the word out there and receiving it? That's why people get into the habit of saying, wow, well, you've apologized 10 times for the same thing, because you keep doing it again because it was never resolved. Okay, it's hard to receive an apology that is given like the other person is under duress. Absolutely. It's very difficult to do that. That's why when we talk about the proactive apology, it has to be vulnerable. It has to be honest. You have to almost fall on your sword. That's why I say marriage is difficult, man. Relationships are tough. Because when you fall on your sword and you apologize like that, you're giving your mate some serious weaponry to hurt you with. Okay. Thank you is just the beginning. Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm glad you see that. Thank you, just the beginning. Look, now let me share this with you. An apology fails when it's built on false equivalence. I'm sorry, but you did this too isn't an apology. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't have if is not an apology. So an apology will fail when there's a false equivalency. A false equivalency is when you are comparing something to the offense that has nothing to do with it. I went out and spent that money because you did that. Or I went out and cheated because you were flirting online. Are you with me? Okay. In giving and receiving an apology, we must intellectually embrace it so that it can be offered and received sincerely. Absolutely. You're trying to drop some knowledge, ain't you, Wendy? Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this. And we talk about this when we're talking about marriage math, okay? And that is the fact that everybody has some addition in the relationship or in the offense or in whatever it is. And when you go into an apology, when you start to reconcile something, you understand that irrespective of who actually committed the offense, everyone has skin in that game. If I'm only 5%, and I've done this before, 5% responsible, and you're 95% responsible, I have to be 100% responsible for my 5%. You're 100% responsible for your 95%, but everybody's got skin in the game. And when you go into a situation understanding that my partner is apologizing to me, but I have some ownership here. And some of y'all might be so at a point where you say, look, no, I didn't do anything. This is all on them. And are there situations like that? Yeah, but because you're in the relationship, you got to take some responsibility because you're choosing to be there. All right? Okay. So you don't get to average out your wrong against their wrong. You just don't. All right? So let's continue. Let's go from now apology to repair. Okay, I hope you're still with me. We got just a few more minutes left. All right. Now, an apology is a sentence, okay? But forgiveness is a decision. I want you to get this. Repair is the part nobody talks about. But this is the part that actually rebuilds the marriage. Okay? This is the part that actually starts to repair the issue. And in chapter 11 of my book, I talk about this, that when someone apologizes, especially if they're doing it sincerely. Now, if they're doing it insincerely, if they're doing it proactively, okay, fine. We're not talking about inactive or reactive apologies. But when someone apologizes proactively, your job in responding to that is to lead with forgiveness, which means you must let that person know that you are releasing them from your judgment. And this is difficult. But it comes down to whether or not you really want to reconcile. It really comes down to that. Do you really want to reconcile? Because that's what forgiveness is. I'm releasing you from the penalty of my judgment, and I'm choosing to treat you as though you did no wrong. Wow. Yeah, if you want to get spiritual about that, there's biblical reference for that. I'm choosing to treat you as though you did no wrong. Now, depending on the degree of the wrong, you can forgive and stay or forgive and leave. But generally, if you really want to forgive somebody, that's how you have to do it. I'm releasing you from judgment, and I'm making an intellectual, cognizant decision to treat you as though you did no wrong. That's what I'm doing. Okay? Yeah, it is. And that's a decision that the hurt person makes, not the offender, the offended. That's a position that he makes. That's a decision that he makes or she makes, okay? So your job isn't to get forgiven, though. Right? Your job is to become someone worth forgiving. Hear me. Your job as an offender is not to get forgiveness, but is to be someone worth forgiving. I think that is such an important point, because most people are only ready to do the first part. I want forgiveness. Well, don't you forgive me? You said you forgive me. Why can't you forgive me? Well, you have to become someone worth forgiving, because saying that I'm going to release you from my judgment and treat you as though you did no wrong, I can only do that when I see that as and I use a biblical reference here, as that there is evidence of repentance, evidence of forgiveness, evidence of I'm sorry. And that evidence is that you're actually making steps to change the behavior. Whatever that behavior was, you're making cognizant steps to change it. I hope y'all are getting this. If you're getting this, please let me know. Please let me know, okay? Because I don't want to be just talking. I want to know. Are you getting this? Okay. All right. Now let's continue. Let's continue. One thing that I want to share with you also is that apologies isn't the end, as Jay said earlier. Apology isn't the finish line. It's really just a starting gun. And what you do in the next 30 days, I want you to get this. Excellent. I'm glad y'all getting it. Monica and Tunisia. What you do in the next 30 days, depending on the level of the offense, if it's something, let's say, let's just throw something out there. If it's infidelity, that's not necessarily sex, but something that online or flirtation, or what could be anything, if it's whatever. What you do in the next 30 days, that's your real apology. Remember, the words are just the starting gun. But what you do in the next 30 days, that's the race. Now, if it's just a little thing, something that's not deep, okay, I don't know. I forgot to pick up the laundry, the dry cleaning. Okay, I forgot to wash the dishes. What you do in the next 48 hours becomes the apology. Because I forgot to wash the dishes, but the next time dishes are there, I do it, boom. Your partner realizes you've learned and you've what we call repented. Because repenting means to turn, change directions, and do something different. I'm teaching you something here. Okay? So what you do after your apology, the apology is only the starting gun. What you do after that, in the next period of your life, whether it's 30 days or 3 days or 1 week, whatever, as soon as your partner can see that there's actually some change, then that's when the real apology happens. That's when the real apology happens. And then forgiveness becomes easy. Because the person can see that I've coached so many couples, done pastoral counseling for so many couples, and I use the word counseling carefully because I'm not a clinical counselor. Okay, I'm a pastoral counselor, and I want to make that I don't prescribe medicine. I don't do any of that stuff. Let me read this before I go further. Shouldn't the forgiver be in the mindset of releasing the offender whether or not they choose to change? Oh, absolutely. It's up to the offender to take on the responsibility of repenting. That determines if one forgives and stays or forgives and leaves, right? You're absolutely right. So the forgiver, the offended person, yes, they should be in the mindset of releasing the offender whether or not they choose to change. And that's a deep part of this, because it's like, forgiving someone is not about the offender. Forgiving someone is about the offended. I'm forgiving you not even because I want you to do better. I'm forgiving you for my own mental health. Now, I do want you to do better, but I cannot live with that judgment. I cannot live with that pressure. I cannot live with that pain constantly. So forgiveness is a release for the offended person. It actually is. And it must happen. I've talked to so many couples who are facing divorce. And as well, you know what? I will never forgive you. I've actually heard people say, I will never forgive you. Be careful what comes out of your mouth in times of rage or in times of hurt. Because to tell someone, I will never forgive you, is also saying, I'm also choosing to never be forgiven. Yeah. Do unto others as you would have them. What goes around comes around, all that. So if you're choosing to never forgive someone, understand something. You're putting yourself in a position to never be forgiven. And that's so important. You always have to be in a position to forgive. I don't care what the offense is. You don't have to stay in that person's presence. And we make that mistake quite often where we believe that forgiveness means that now I have to reconcile. Now we got to be together. Now we got to be lovey-dovey again. No, it does not mean that. It means I'm releasing you from my judgment. I'm going to treat you as though you're okay with me. One of the most riveting things I've seen was, I can't remember the exact case, but there was Botham, the black gentleman where the cop had broken into his house and shot him. And her defense was that she thought it was her apartment and she thought someone was in there. It was an intruder. She had a long day. I'm not here to argue the facts of the case, but I am here to talk about what happened afterwards. What happened after that was that during the trial, the brother of, I think, Botham John, his brother looked at the defendant and said, I forgive you. I'm not holding this against you. For whatever reason, if it was intentional or unintentional, I forgive you. And then he looked at the judge and he said, can I go hug her? And he got from the witness stand, walked over to the defendant, and gave her a hug. She broke down. I want you to get this. She broke down and cried on his shoulder. The judge was in tears. Now, what was happening here? There was a release of judgment. Now, she subsequently had to, whatever the consequences were for them from that case, she did have to do that. But the witness, that brother, in an incredible act of maturity, in an incredible act of just intellectual advancement, He said, I cannot hold on to this because it will destroy me. And that was my brother. But it will destroy me. And that's what I need you to get in your minds. That forgiveness is about you not carrying that weight. It has to be. Okay? So, this week, I want you to go back to one unresolved offense this week and redo the apology. I don't care who it is. I don't know what it is. But go back to one unresolved offense and undo the apology. Not any buts, not any ifs. Just understand your percentage and clear that person of your judgment. That's your homework until next week. Okay? We're done. Thank you guys so much. I wanted to remind you again, Wendy says here, couples should keep posting on the homepage. We want to keep up with what's going on with our peeps. Absolutely. Also invite others next week. Anyone who subscribes to the app gets a discount on couples coaching. Absolutely. And let's build a happy, healthy community. That's true. So when you come in next week, if there's a firewall, in fact, even before that, go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, you can miss a cup of coffee for a month and subscribe to the app. All right? So we're looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Tell your friends, tell your family. Let's get this community going, okay? Thank you. You're welcome. You're more than welcome, Tanisha. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next week.